Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack and today I am driving a 2019 Hyundai Elantra GT N-Line. Up front is a 1.6 liter turbocharged inline 4 and down below is a 7-speed automatic dual clutch transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Elantra GT N-Line for two reasons. First of all, this car is pretty rare. This is the first N-Line vehicle. They only made this body style from 2018 to 2020, so only 3 model years, and they only did the GT N-Line for the last two, 19 and 20. So it's rare. But it's also sporty and fun. As we'll talk about, it has a turbocharged engine under the hood. It looks good, it's a hot hatch, and it's always a good day to drive one of those. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month, as well as there's exclusive audio content. And a final thank you to the owner, Justin, who runs the Cars Made Simple YouTube channel. He's a good friend of mine, so please go check out his content linked in the description below. But let's get back to that 1.6 liter turbocharged inline 4 under the hood. Well, it has been used across a bunch of Hyundai products and is still actually in production in one form or another. It makes 201 horsepower and offers a pretty thrilling driving experience. You probably didn't hear much on camera. The exhaust sounds great. It is an aftermarket exhaust and it has an aftermarket blow-off valve. It's fun. It's a fun little punch. Is this going to knock your socks off and make you upchuck your lunch? No, not today at least. And I did try Quad City style pizza for the first time today and I'm not upchucking it. But it just adds fun to your drive. It's not the craziest in the world, but it put a smile on my face and it turns an average commute into something that's, well, not that terrible. And that's a nice thing. Now, it's not quite the 2-liter turbo of the full N, but the N lines were kind of scaled back a little bit, and this being the first one, that's very clear. Like I said, paired to it is a 7-speed dual clutch automatic. Some people like it, some people hate it. I don't personally mind it. Around town, it can be a little bit clunky, but when you do get on it, you start shifting through it. This does have a paddle shifter kit that we'll talk about later. Rowing it through the gears like that with the paddles, it's a lot of fun and it's very responsive. So it's not the best of both worlds, it's the best of one world, and I hope that you can find your way to that world. Last but not least, the Elantra GT N-Line is front-wheel drive. So how does it feel to drive the Elantra GT N-Line? Well, it's a lot of fun. It packs a little punch, but a punch nevertheless. This is a hot hatch that wasn't here for very long. It's here for a good time, not a long time. Visibility is pretty good, although this is tinted. Ride quality is okay, but it definitely errs on the side of sportiness, like it should, being a sporty vehicle. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior, and I do want to note there's a handful of OEM Plus additions or modifications in here, so I'll try to shout them out when I find them. In front of me, I have 4 gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer and coolant temperature, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel. In the center, I do get a little information screen that I could swipe through. This is very characteristic of other Hyundai products, and of course Kia as well. On the steering wheel on the left, we have our voice commands, mode, volume, skip track, and phone options, and off to the right, we have our pages icon, cruise control, and selectors. The steering wheel itself is stock, however, there is a carbon fiber paddle shifter kit that has been added to the back of the steering wheel that is not stock. Off to the left, we do have an aftermarket boost gauge. Again, this is not original. We have our climate control vent and gauge dimmer switch along with traction control off button. And moving on to the door, we have power mirrors, and power windows, but no power locks. Those are saved for the center. Speaking of the center, we do have our infotainment system. This is the UVU system that Kia and Hyundai have used for quite some time. Nothing new here. It's fine. It does the job. It has wired Apple CarPlay or wired Android Auto. And here's the backup camera, but honestly, this is one of the least important, least notable parts of the Elantra GT N-Line. Down below, we do have the hazard switch and 2 climate vents. Interestingly enough, the owner swapped the European facelift climate vents in here. So these are actually European climate vents. The standard American ones were just black. Then we have our central locking, kind of weird placement here, but that's fine. And then we have our climate controls. We do get dual zone climate. We do get an openable cubby with a 12-volt outlet, as well as aux and USB-A. And the shifter. The shifter I actually really like. I think it looks presentable. I think it looks good, and it still looks modern, even though we are 6 years away from this vehicle. Now, we do have our heated seats found down here. They're just not up with the cluster, which I would have liked to have seen, but they're fine placement nevertheless. And we have our drive mode select for sport or not sport. That's all you get. Power parking brake and auto holding brake, and then we have cup holders that, of course, fail the big friggin' bottle test. If you ever had eyes, you would have known that. Then we do get a center console and the seats. The seats are leather heated, however, they are manual, and these have the Korean market red seat belts. In Canada and Korea, they got red seat belts, but for some reason here in the US, we didn't get that option, so the owner added that for $90 a piece. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, I'm in the back of the 2019 Hyundai Elantra GT N-Line, and I actually fit back here pretty well. It's not bad. Sadly enough to say, it is roomier than my Mazda 3. I often compare this vehicle to my Mazda 3. It's a gray hatchback from 2019 that looks good and is fun to drive, but this is much better than the Mazda 3, backseat-wise. We do get a center console, 2 cup holders in there. We get climate vents back here. Again, better than the Mazda 3. The Mazda 3 does not get rear climate vents. The red seat belts have also been swapped from Korea here, and that's pretty much it. Get LED lights, things like that, but nothing really too crazy beyond it. But I fit back here, and that's the breaking news of the day. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Elantra GT N-Line, we do get a big handle right here in the center, and we do get a fair amount of space. Now, this bar has also been added. That is from an i30N, and most of the bolt holes are here on the North American market, but you do have to rivet in 2 of them in case you're curious, and that just adds extra structural rigidity. We do get a 12-volt outlet. This is actually currently connected to the baffles in the exhaust. Because it has the aftermarket exhaust, you can open up. And we do get the Elantra GT max load of 130 pounds. So very cool to see all that. That is the rear trunk space of the Elantra GTN line, and I actually like it. I think it's pretty sizable for what it's trying to accomplish. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I absolutely adore the look of this car. I think it's sporty and angry enough without looking overstyled like a Civic Type R or vehicles like that. It doesn't look like it's gonna fly away with a gust of wind because of its big spoiler. However, speaking of which, that spoiler is a European market i30N spoiler that was actually very, very hard to find. So that is an OEM plus piece from Europe on their European i30N. But I do think that this looks really, really good, and it's a darn shame that we never got the full N edition here in the United States. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Hyundai Elantra GT N-Line? Well, I think this is another one of those kind of diamond in the rough cars. Because it was built for such a short amount of time here in the US and offered for such a short amount of time, I don't think many people really know or understand this vehicle. It packs quite the punch. They're modifiable, they're fun, they look good. Although we are fortunate enough to have a lot of hot hatch options or just good hatchback options, I think it's kind of hard to please the casual enthusiast. Because we have vehicles like the Civic Type R. The Elantra N is hardcore. The Type R is hardcore, and even honestly, the Honda Civic Si is pretty hardcore. But for someone that doesn't need to be on the cutting edge of performance, but still wants something semi-entertaining that they're gonna have to live with, I think this car fills a very good void in that market. And I think it serves people that like cars, but maybe they don't go to sleep in a race car bed. Maybe they own other DVDs besides Top Gear's Best Hits and Motor Week. This car is for someone who likes cars, but doesn't spend all of their money going to museums and building models and attending races. This is for someone that just wants to have fun on the weekend, but doesn't let their weekend define their weekdays. And I like that. I like the duality of that. I like the possibility that, hey, I don't have to put all my eggs in one basket. I can still enjoy a fun car, but not break my back and not make a statement every time I pull up to Dollar General. People often give guff to the middle ground, but the middle ground is safe. The middle ground is friendly, and the middle ground is sometimes necessary. And I like that a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Justin from Cars Made Simple for letting me borrow his Elantra GT N-Line for today's video. Justin is a near and dear friend of mine, a colleague in the industry, and I always appreciate him. Please go check out his channel, Cars Made Simple. Absolutely wonderful car reviews. Very, very informative, and you won't find any better. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.